I think we can move on to the next question. I think you all sort of touched on the resources, but uh, can I ask, would you say you have the necessary resources that you need to carry out your task effectively, or your patient care effectively?
I think most of the time we tend to focus on equipment, you know, do I have enough equipment? Do I have that? But I think also we must take note of the our own, like our mental health, ne? Because we are pouring so much into other people that sometimes it gets a little bit overwhelming. So for me, I would say the most limited resources that I think I had was like mental support, you know, that when you have like a sort of a breakdown, who do you go to? Who is there to check that you are fine? Because it's like you are dropped into this rural area and then you're supposed to kind of like make way or make do with whatever you have. So I think the necessary resources will definitely just have a good support structure and just know that you are doing whatever you can. And as much as you are pouring out onto other people, allow yourself to like to pour something inside of you. So have that. Don't focus a lot on we don't have this equipment or that. Because when I was last year, it was a fully furnished department. It had everything, you know. So in terms of equipment, there was never really a problem. But in terms of like I'm studying community service, it's the middle of I had already planned out my holidays. I knew what I'm gonna be home by Feb, by March. Everything is planned out beautifully. And then there's lockdown. Okay, I can't go home. Who do I know in the Eastern Cape? I know no one. I came alone, you know. So that also highlighted that just from the get, have a good support structure because it's exciting, yes, but it does get overwhelming. And when it gets to that point, know who your people are, who your network is. I think, yeah, that for me, I can just add that.
For me, in terms of resources, I would advise the physiotherapist to utilize Heather. Heather was the best utility I have to prepare me for rural because Heather teaches you how to function without a lot of resources. So that was what helped. Last year, I did not have a huge problem with resources. I just had a problem with space because we only had one room and there were 3 therapists and there was an OT and a physio. So privacy was not a thing. This year, at the beginning of the year, we had the same problem, but then we got a gift of the givers and they just helped us with spacing. So we have an office, physiotherapy and an OT room. So we have good, it's just that the one thing you'll notice that you will need the most, the one resource that I would advise for you to advocate for is a Bobath plinth. It's very important because we have like a very tall plinth and we still struggle with, especially when you're seeing neurological conditions. That is a terrible plinth. It's those UCT plinths that we have, it's that high. So when you're seeing children and neurological disorders, it kind of gets tricky, but you can work around everything because we decided to use mats, but then it's terrible for you as the therapist, but it's good for your patient. So it's, okay, it's terrible for me because I'm a tall, big person, right? going down and up is not fun. Ne? But the other therapist is quite short and small, so it's fine for her to use the mat. But in terms of resources, you work with what you have.
You mentioned that Heather was very helpful in teaching you how to adjust or to cope with limited resources. Where can a physio going into community service find the Heather?
Heather.
Or is it just
so Heather is my UCT lecturer. So I don't know if she's a UCT lecturer. Heather Tolbert. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, cool.
For me, I think I'm really lucky to be at a hospital that has, not a lot of resources, but compared to the other surrounding hospitals, we have a lot more. So each department, or not department, but each rehab team member will have their own space. So we have an office that we share, but then OT has a room, physio has a room, speech has a room, and so does audio. So in terms of space, we are fine. We've got the minimum things. So I don't have any complaints about resources here, but for things like, especially with kids, for things like toys, you learn to make things here. So we don't have a lot of games and things to issue, but we've made things out of toilet rolls, out of rocks. There's some weird things, but it's also better this way because your patients can do these things at home. So even though you don't have the fanciest things, it's context-based. So what you are doing, they can take home with them. They can show their friends and so on. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to the next question. How has the moving and settling process been this year and last maybe? And how was the experience of finding accommodation where you are now?
Okay, I'll go first. So, for me it was quite a challenge because it was the first time I came to the Eastern Cape. I came with a bus, Eastern Cape, Intercape bus. I think that thing travels the whole night, day. Oh. Yeah, so that but the hospital provides with free accommodation. But if you are moving, like if you are within that province, they can actually pick you up from where you are. So with me, I from Gauteng, I took the Intercape bus. And then in the morning, I think, what is that station? I think it was Umtata station. And then the hospitals, they picked me there. And then I went to Stulele. And then the accommodation, because usually accommodation, like you live inside the hospital, it was a cubicle. It was like a cubicle and it had nothing inside. Ne? And they told us that no, there will be a bed, there will be a cupboard, then there will be a couple of stuff, but it had literally nothing inside. So I would advise you that at least like starting from now, get information on what type of accommodation is needed. Videos, get pigs, like be in contact with the ComServes. They're selling anything because usually they sell things at a very good price. So ask them and make friends if possible. Yeah, and not because I'm post ComServe and I'm permanent. You get a 3 months, like you're accommodated for 3 months, and after that you have to find your own accommodation outside the hospital. I know it's different for other like for other places. But for me, it was like that. They were like, they're going to accommodate me for 3 months. After 3 months, I have to find my own accommodation. So that's why I'm saying that if in your ComServe, just make sure that you buy all of your basic furniture, your bed, your TV, your kettle, your everything. So that post ComServe, you don't have to actually start from scratch, because the salary difference is pretty hectic. So you must make sure that in your ComServe year, you just get all of your furniture and don't sell it if you don't really have to. And yeah, just prepare now. Yeah, but besides that, settling in wasn't really that hectic that much, because we got our salary in January. So there are some people that didn't even get paid in January. They got paid in February, or some in January they didn't get their rural allowance, because you get your basic salary and then you get your rural allowance. They didn't have their rural allowances. So they couldn't even buy furniture, or they couldn't buy anything. So also just bear in mind that there will be inconveniences. Ne? Just make do with what you have, and at the beginning it may be uncomfortable, because where I was, it was a cubicle. So it means that the bathrooms and the showers and everything, they were outside. Ne? And we literally shared them with nurses, So also be mindful of, it's a little bit the classism inside, that the doctors, they get the nice accommodation, and then there's allied health, which is us, and we just get whatever we want to get. Just make most of whatever you have and build furniture. And yeah, I think you should be fine. Eventually. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Okay. My rural experience. Yeah. For me, I'd say, for you to enjoy rural, don't focus on the extras. Just focus on the people, because the people are really great. Like, I used to walk in the village where I stayed in Ngobo. People are like, no, Ngobo is dangerous, Ngobo is dangerous. But when I was amongst the people were nice and friendly and all that. So I chose to just take it to the people, and I actually enjoyed my ComServe. Accommodation problem. Yeah, so I suggest just find something that you will enjoy about your space, because you will find a lot of challenges. Right now, this year, I'm also in hospital accommodation. I'll show you, but my room is very dirty. So, deuces, guys, and then Lord. Yeah, it's very small, and then also there's a highly likely that the place you're gonna get is not clean. You will have to clean it yourself. Yeah, but rural is nice, Batum. It's very nice, and you make your own fun in rural. I enjoyed it because I'm an extrovert, so I got out, did things with the community. Even this side where I'm at, it's a bit difficult this side, because people this side are more reserved. So even when you go out into the village, you can't find people where you can just chill with. And then in terms of mental health, I've seen a lot. People have different strategies on how to deal with mental health, because it is a bit difficult being away from your people, being away from your family. Find your own thing, bruh. Find your own thing that makes you happy. Just make best with what you have. I would suggest not drinking a lot, because it's very easy to like go into that route. It's very easy. I know it, I've seen it a lot from this side, from other people, but you can make a lot in rural and it's quite fun. Peace.
Thank you.
So when I was looking for ComServe placements, I was specifically looking for places where the hospitals offered accommodation, because I did not want to travel far to work every day. And luckily this place has really, really nice accommodation. I was actually shocked when I got here because I was ready to live rural, but I have a beautiful room. I share a flat with 2 other people, but everyone's got their space, and there's 2 bathrooms, and it's still free. I don't know how, but yeah, it's a 2-minute walk to the hospital every morning. So my suggestion is, I found this place by talking to the current, the ComServe that was, and the OT ComServe last year. So I asked a lot about the place and accommodation, and she told me everything. So I think knowing what you're going into helps, because it's nice, it's beautiful, but when you step out of here, it's definitely rural. But if that's what you are looking for, I feel like you'll enjoy it. And also there's so much to do here. I don't think I've spent one weekend at home. You are just surrounded by things to do. If you like the outdoors, camping, backpacking, there's a lot. But you write about it's the people that make your experience here. So you kind of just have to find something that you enjoy. Otherwise, it does get lonely. I can see how it could get lonelier.
Thank you. And as we get to the last question, before we ask any of our guests if they have questions, do you have any advice for some of our final year students who are choosing their placement soon?
For what? Sorry.
Who are choosing their do you have any advice for some of our final year students who are choosing their placements?
Oh. Yeah. I think just be open for them to be open-minded. Ne? Because I agree you are allowed, like we have 5 options, and then in different provinces they should be open to the possibility that you may not even be placed in 5 of those options. Me? So they should just allow yourself to be open and don't overthink it too much. They shouldn't overthink the whole experience. They shouldn't overwhelm them a lot. They should also just research whatever they feel that they want to research, and eventually just make an informed decision. And it's only a year. It's only a year, guys. It's only a year. Yeah, that's all I can just say for now.
Thank you.
For me, lower your expectations, but aim high. Yeah, lower your expectations, aim high. Because when I researched my place, I wanted a place that offered a lot of neuro. And then when I researched, it was one that offered neuro. When I got there, it did not offer like experiences in neuro, but it offered experiences in other places. So if you targeting a specific thing that you're trying to be perfect in, like a specific skill that you want to perfect, excuse me, I'd suggest like you just there, né? Because as also in Cape Town, people vary, patients vary. Né? This side also patients vary, even per district. Yes, you might get common things, né? In each district. Like when I was in Ngobo, what I commonly had the most was neuromuscular problems, conditions, and neurological conditions. This side, I'm seeing more pain and neurological. So you have to do your research, try to get in contact with people on uh, that place, if there's people there. And then also remember one thing, going for big hospitals, there's a lot of people going for big hospitals. So you have to also manage your expectations there, getting it, because there's a lot more people going for the big hospitals. So in Eastern Cape, there's 3 that I know of. There's 4: Livingston, Frey, Cecilia, and Tata. I think there are others, but those are the 4 biggest ones. And there's a lot of people who are going for those. And then also in other provinces, there's a lot of people going for big hospitals. So when you're having in your options, your first 2 options you can choose, you only get 2 options for big hospitals, tertiary hospitals, and secondary hospitals. So the other 3 can be your rural. Né? So you have to be very, when you're going for those 3, you have to just do your research and also be open to the fact that you might not get it. Né? And then also one of your options, because I did that same thing in my final year, I chose, and then the last options, I chose a remote area. Those things, I thought it was a remote area, but I chose a remote area in which I knew that people will not, so that you don't get the disappointment of getting placed somewhere you don't know. Né? So all those things, né? It's better to get a place that you chose so that you personally would feel comfortable, be like, I chose that place, even if it's bad, but then you also have that thing like, I chose it, not going to a place where you did not choose and then having like a not so nice experience. But come on to rural people, eh? It's nice out here. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was exactly what I did also. So the other bigger hospitals in Eastern Cape are, or the ones that are more usual, are Zitulele and Madwaleni, I think. There might be another one, but when I was applying last year, you can click when you can see how many people have applied. There were probably around like 30 something people that applied to those. And even though I really wanted to be there, I didn't put it as my first choice. I put it as like a second or third. The place that I'm at now was my first choice because I was the only one who applied here. But I did my research before. So I searched the place. I got in contact with the people who work there because there's almost nothing online for any of these hospitals. So don't bother Googling these places. You kind of just have to figure out who's working there. So if you search the name of the place, what worked for me was maybe looking on Facebook, because then sometimes the person who works there they put it in their bio, and then they pop up, and I just sent so many messages to people, but I got a lot of information from that. And then I think every year, I'm not sure who runs it, but someone has a Facebook page for the ComServes of that year. So once the placements are out, everyone comments their places on there. And then that's where you can swap if you're not happy with your choice, or just find the other people who are working there. So it should come out later this year. Just search ComServe 2022 and it should be there. But otherwise, I don't really have much advice. Just make sure you choose in places that, you know, you'll be happy there, but don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone, because I'm very happy where I am right now, and it was a big gest putting this as my first place.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely remember that for when I have to choose my placements as well, which is like tears. But okay, so as much as we had specific questions and speakers, we would like to hear from everyone else who has joined, like be it questions or comments that you guys may have. You can just interrupt by unmuting or writing in the chat. We'll read them out loud. Are there no questions? Okay, to the speakers, is there anything specific you also wanted to talk about that we didn't really discuss here before we come to the end?
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to like add like just something that I was just thinking now is the shift or the difference between theory and practical. I think there's some concepts that you won't apply here. Things that you book or as it is on the book that you have to change or with audiology, theory-wise, and that if in your lab, it means that there's a possibility that they may and then that
what is breaking.
Yeah, we can't hear you so well.
Hello?
Yeah, you were breaking, so we couldn't hear you quite well.
Am I breaking?
Yeah.
It's the Wi-Fi now.
I think it's still the same.
Hear me now.
No. I
You
mean,
can't hear anything.
I mean, we can hear you, but you breaking here and there, so
I was breaking a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like as I was saying, and then textbook wise, I was like, okay, refer to an ENT, and then they can do an MRI. And then they were like, no, that's really impractical when you're in the rural area because they only see emergencies. And then they were like, okay, so what other thing can you like justify that this person is an MRI? I'm like, but the textbook says that if this is what you see, then this is what must happen. And I like, no, sweetie, it doesn't work like that here. There are some things that you cannot do them just the way that they are in the book, and you must just be okay with that. And then as you move along, you start to kind of like depend more on your experience than what the textbook or the book says. So you kind of like gauge what is happening around the area, because in my area most of the people had a lot of like middle ear infections than any other thing. And then I had to kind of like do ENT related procedures, things that I did not even learn in varsity because of the escalation of a matter here is not easy. So I had to, let's say, syringe pass out of a person's ear. I had to take out foreign objects out of a person's ear because it's simply difficult. So know that your scope of practice might even broaden depending on where you are. So be open-minded and always be in spaces that allow you to learn, allow you to know. Because sometimes you may be an audiologist and there's no speech therapist, and then doctors will come to you and ask you, what do you think? Even though you're not even like a speech therapist. So just be open-minded, and yeah, and know that your scope of practice will broaden beyond what you have studied at school. Even though you may seem like you don't know everything, be patient with yourself and know that as time goes by, you'll be depending a lot on your experience. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Siwe. I just want to add on to that because I was going to say the exact same thing. The beginning, or when I first got here, I was so nervous because I felt like I just forgot everything. You don't realize how much you learn during your time at uni. And then when you get here, you just feel like it's all gone. But it does come back to you. And it is even more difficult now because COVID. So we did not do all of our blocks last year. We didn't get as much practical experience as we should have. And I'm sure it's probably the same for people who are in their final years now. But you learn as you go along. If there's one piece of advice that I have for you, it's just don't be afraid to ask for help. Because if you don't know, it's much better to ask, whether it was someone who was in your class with you, if you're lucky enough to have a supervisor, just ask them to sit in with you in the session, because it's better for the patient, it's better for you, everyone feels comfortable. But yeah, just don't be hard on yourself because it's a lot.
For me, enjoy ComServe. It's a lot of fun. Enjoy ComServe, enjoy the money at ComServe, because there's a significant change between the two. And then also, yeah, they basically said like, for me, luckily in varsity, I focus more on practical than theory, because I'm very bad with retention of things, but I'm good at practical. So that mindset helped me very well transitioning into ComServe and rural also, because it's very practical based. And then also in varsity, you get taught a lot of therapeutic rehab. Here you have to know therapy. A lot of therapy. Here you have to focus on rehab, because it's not possible to see a patient, unlike in varsity where you see a patient, you can see a patient at least in the 5-week block, you can see a patient at least 5 times in those 5 weeks. Here, it's literally once a month. You have to adjust to that. And then you also need to make sure that you can explain to a patient what they need to do, the importance of why they need to do that, so that they understand everything. Then that will help you a lot in your therapy. I found out that as you get into comms, into the working area, especially in the Eastern Cape, you become a more hands-off therapist than a hands-on therapist, because it is more beneficial to the patient that way. Né? And I would suggest, as you still have good access in UCT access, to learn about SASAs, né? And the SASAs things, né? Because that is a very tricky thing, because at some point you will have to, SASA does need a therapist for you to write, provide evidence why someone needs the grant. Né? So you need to just know the whole procedure at SASA, and then enjoy ComSolve, enjoy work, né? And deuces.
Okay, thank you so much to everyone. I think our main aim for this event was for other people who, like, even if you're not a final year student, but other people to know what to expect when they get to ComServe and when they get to internship. And I hope that everyone got that. We have come to the end of the talk today, and I'd like to thank our speakers. I know you guys are busy and you borrowed us your time, so thank you so much. And to everyone else who viewed, it's a busy week. I think it's like exam weekend or close for everyone else. So thank you for viewing, and we appreciate you coming through. So for the last bit of RSN, what is this? Okay, I forgot. Okay, so if you have missed the run for rural, you can still come through for the hike for rural, and you can find all that information on our Instagram page. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this. Yeah, I think that's the end of our talk today. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.